פסחים פרק א', משנה ו'. משנה זו עוסקת בשריפת בשר קודשים שנטמא בטומאה קולה. We're going to be dealing with the burning of holy meat that became impure with a secondary impurity, not with the first impurity. So what do you want to do with this meat? You want it burning יחד עם בשר קודשים שנטמא בטומאה חמורה. You want to burn it together with meat of kodshim that became severely impaired. Now, what's the problem? Why would you be worried about burning it together? Because if you remember, there's a commandment to not spread the impurity. If one meat touches the other meat, so you're spreading the impurity of the more severe meat together to this impurity, to the light meat. You're spreading them around. It doesn't matter, but before you burn it, you're spreading it. That's the problem. So that's going to be a problem. V'uva kan. So say the reason why are we discussing it over here? Mishuma Mishnah ba'a. It brought down because of the next Mishnah. We're going to see the next Mishnah. It's talking about the same idea, just with chametz. It's going to talk about. So we're going to have the same idea, and we're going to see if it is exactly the same idea, not exactly the same idea. That's going to be in the next Mishnah. וכבר הזכרנו במקומות אחדים, we already mentioned in a few places, שיש דרגות בטומאה, where there's going to be levels in impurity. טומאת המת היא אבי אבות הטומאה. The dead person is the fathers of the fathers of the tumah. It's called אבי אבות הטומאה. It's the most severe impurity. כל המטמא מחמת המת, and everything that touches a dead person, בין אדם, בין כלים, whether a person touches a dead person, whether a vessel touches a dead person, נקרא טמא מת. Those things are called טמא מת, impurified by the dead. והוא אב הטומאה. And this is considered to be אב הטומאה. אב הטומאה is every person that touched a dead person or every vessel that touched a dead person. Good morning.
The vessel itself can't be done.
Yeah, and it's called what kind of impurity? Avatuma. Avatuma. The vessels or the person. ויש עוד עבוד הטומאה. There's other עבוד הטומאה. כגון שרץ המת. For example, a dead mouse is also called avatuma. It's also called a severe impurity, let's call it. הנבלה, also a dead person, a dead animal, hazav, somebody who has this sickness that's called zav, hametzora, the leper, ve'od, and many more. So, the rules is, we're not going to go into this because when we get to Kodshim, we're going to learn all these rules. But הנוגע באב הטומאה נעשה ראשון לטומאה. When you touch the av הטומאה, for example, a person who touched a dead person, when a third person touches him, yeah, נעשה ראשון לטומאה, he becomes first to טומאה. It's a less severe impurity. So he touched av הטומאה, somebody who touched a dead person, so he becomes first to טומאה. ואין ראשון לטומאה, and there's different rules. If you're ראשון לטומאה, which means you're a person who touched a dead person, you don't מטמא אלא אוכלים ומשקים. You only impurified food. You don't impurify vessels.
So the person can touch you and he's not going to be done.
That's right. The fourth person.
Third.
The fourth person that touched.
No, second. What is fourth?
It depends.
Or the third person.
Yeah. You have the dead person.
Touching second.
That's right.
Somebody touched that guy, he's the third.
He does not become impure.
He doesn't get this, but he מטמא את הכלים.
Not kelim, or food. Only food.
Oh, food.
Food.
Oh.
The first tuma, the person who touched the dead person, is metame everything. The second tuma, metame only food. Again, don't worry about it right now.
Just to understand. So the second tuma means that somebody touched a guy that touched the dead.
That's right.
That's the second tuma.
Oh, it's the guy who touched the dead person.
Guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so I understand.
ואין ראשון לטומאה מטמא אלא אוכלים ומשקים. So that guy, the second guy that we talked about, which was ראשון לטומאה, only is metame ochlim umashkim, is only going to be impurified food. V'im naga ochel berishon letuma, if food touched a rishon letuma, harei ze na'aseh sheni letuma. The food itself becomes second to tuma. V'alacha hi, and the law hi, shesheni oseh shlishi letum'a betruma. And the law is that the second makes a third to tuma only in truma, because truma is severe. V'shlishi oseh revi'i letuma b'kodesh. And a third makes a fourth one to tuma b'kodesh. So it at many levels of tuma, if you can see, just have the levels. It doesn't matter exactly which levels, but there's going to be many levels, and each one has different rules of what it does. Kol hadargot shelemata me'av hatuma, all we need to know is that the person who touches a dead person, that's severe impurity, and everything under it, it's less lighter, less severe. They are called Vlada Tuma. They're called the offspring of Tuma. He is the father, and they're the offspring. Ava Tuma nikra Tuma Chamura. The Ava Tuma is called severe Tuma. Ho'ilu metame Adam vekelim. Why is it called severe? Because it impurifies everything. It defiles everything. It makes everything impure. What does it mean everything? Both people and food and vessels. It makes them impure. Ve'ilu vlada tuma nikra tuma kula. And all the other underneath him, it's called light tuma. Why are they called light tuma? She'eno metame adam vekelim. Because it doesn't impurify a person that touches it, nor does it impurify vessels that touches it. It only impurifies food. So all we need to understand for this Mishnah is that Ava Tuma, the father of Tuma, impurifies everything. Person, for example, a person who touched the dead person. Anything he touches, because
Who is Ava Tuma? The guy that touched the dead?
The dad who touched the dead. He is called
the
dead is called Avi Avot Tuma.
Oh, Avi Avot. And this Ava Tuma.
It's called Ava Tuma, yeah.
אני חשבתי, המת זה Ava.
No. The dead is Avi Avot Tuma. A person who touched the dead person is called Ava Tuma. And Ava Tuma is metame everything. Anything below him is only metame, is only impurifies food. Other things doesn't impurify. Okay? So let's see. Rabbi Chanina Sgan HaKohanim Omer. Rabbi Chanina, the second of the Kohanim, says, Sgan HaKohanim, Hainu Sgan HaKohen HaGadol. What does it mean? הסגן היה ממונה למלא את מקומו של הכהן הגדול. So the sgan was the second in command. If the Kohen Gadol used to become impurified, the second in command would become the high priest. אם יערה בו פסול ביום הכיפורים, if it going to become a blemish in יום כיפור, וכן היו לו תפקידים מיוחדים על יד הכהן הגדול. He also used to help, like prime minister in nowadays. You know, סגן הכהנים. Not the prime minister, so okay, the vice prime minister. Yeah, like a vice president, that's right. So he, Rabbi Chanina Sgan HaKohanim, tells us a rule now. It says, Miyemehem shel Kohanim. Says, from the days of the Kohanim, which means
from the beginning of Beit HaMikdash.
From the time that actually they work in Beit HaMikdash, because the Mishnah is written when there was destruction, there was no Beit HaMikdash. But he says, you should know that at the time of the Beit HaMikdash, Kol Yemei Avodatam BaMikdash, as long as they used to work in the Mikdash, Lo Nimneu HaKohanim, the Kohanim didn't have a problem of what? Milisrof et HaBasar, from burning the meat, Basar HaKodesh shel HaKorbanot, the holy meat of the sacrifices, Shenitma Bevlad HaTuma, that became impurified with the offspring of Tuma. They burnt it together. Gemara Mevuar, in the Gemara it explains which offspring are we talking about. Shemedubar kan bebasar shenitma besheni latuma, that it is a flesh that became impure in second to tuma. Vlad tuma. It's the fourth one. It's like already. It's a lighter than the food that became impure. It's even lighter than that. Shenaasa basar shlishi latuma, which means it became a third to tuma. ולא נמנעו מלשרוף בשר זה יחד, and they weren't worried from burning this flesh together, עם הבשר שנטמע באב הטומאה, with the flesh that became impure with the father of Tuma. In other words, we have a rule that you don't want to spread the impurity, but they say, since you're burning them anyway, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay to burn them together, even though we're not supposed to spread the impurity. Even though this is first to Tuma and this is third to Tuma, if they touch it, this one will make this second to Tuma, which means it will elevate the impurity from third to second, you still have a problem.
So what's the problem if you burn first or you have a fire?
Yeah.
You take the basar kodashim that it's pasul, you burn it, and then you take the lesser tuma and you burn it.
He says you don't have to do that. You can put them in a pile together and do that. Yeah, you don't have to separate them.
I see.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. So they were not worried. The Kohanim weren't worried that they will touch each other and they will spread the tumah even more. Because of the burning. Otherwise, they would be very careful. That's why. Since it's going to get burnt anyway, they weren't worried about it. We're going to see it's very important going to be for us soon because of Pesach. Yeah. Yeah. אם הבשר שנטמע באב הטומאה ונעשה ראשון לטומאה. Says, אף על פי שמוסיפים טומאה על טומאתו, even though we're going to spread and we're going to increase the tumah of the lighter one. We're going to make it from third to second. Yeah. שכן הבשר שהיה שלישי, because the flesh that up to now was only a third of tuma, נגע עכשיו בבשר שהוא ראשון, now he touched the flesh that is first to tuma, ונעשה שני לתuma. It became more severely impure. Yeah. Yeah, you elevated the impurity. שהואיל ונטמע הבשר והוא עומד להישרף, it says because since we're going to burn it anyway, אין מקפידים על תוספת טומאתו משלישי לשני. We're not going to worry that you're going to increase the impurity from third level to second level. שלא הזהרנו, because the God only warned us, אלא בשמירת בשר קודש טהור שלא יטמע או שלא ייפסל. Because God warned us only if it's pure to not spread the tumah. Because this is anyway impure, so impure, it doesn't matter, they're all the same. אבל בבשר קודש טמא, but if it's impurity, אין כל הזרה שלא להוסיף טומאה על טומאתו. There's no warning to increase the טומאה on the other טומאה. אמנם, תוספת טומאה זו אינה אלא מדרבנן. A very important idea is that the fact that you're adding tumah, it's only you adding tumah from the rabbis. You're not adding tumah from God, from the Torah. The tumah that you're adding is
how is it that you don't add it from God?
Because it's a third of tumah. We're going to learn that. Third and fourth are from the Rabbanan. So you're only making a trick from the.
It's not even in the Torah.
That's right, and that's why they weren't makpid on it. And it's possible. Why? We already know the rules. Oh, very good. In Bet HaMikdash, you're not worried about those things. It looks like. We're going to see. There's going to be disagreements later on. שכן מן התורה, because from the Torah, אין אוכל מטמא אוכל. Food does not defile food. It's only the Rabbanan that says, okay, we're going to make food, also make other food impurity. It's only from the rabbis. שכתוב בטומאת אוכלים, because it says in the impurity of food, וכי יותן מים על זרע, it says if water touched any food, ונפל מנבלתם עליו, the water makes it become ראוי לטומאה, without water on top of it, if it's not wet, it doesn't transfer the impurity, but once it got wet, now the impurity transfers, ונפל מנבלתם עליו, and then he touched the dead something, טמא הוא לכם, it becomes impure to you. ודרשו טמא הוא, and they said it is טמא, ואינו מטמא כיוצא בו, but it doesn't make impure other foods. Things that are similar to him, it doesn't have the power to impurify. אבל חכמים גזרו שיהיה אוכל מטמא אוכל. But the sage says, we're going to make a decree that food makes other food impure. ואף על פי כן, but nevertheless, כל שעומד להישרף, but over here, since we're going to burn it anyway, they don't use the thing that's Bet HaMikdash. They say, since it's going to burn anyway, לא חששו בו לתוספת טומאה. They were not worried that we're going to increase the טומאה, because anyway, you're going to burn it in 2 seconds. It doesn't really matter. And it's not from the Torah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say it.
Yeah. Hosif Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva, you think, says, is going to add, he says, you think that's a trick? I'll show you a much more severe trick that he used to do. Much more severe. What did he used to do? Hosif Rabbi Akiva al dvarav shel Rabbi Chanina sgan haKohanim. So Rabbi Akiva added on the words of Rabbi Chanina, who was the vice Kohen. So it says, Meyemehem shel Kohanim. It says, you should know that as long as the people walked in Bet HaMikdash, lo nimneu, they did not hold back, milahadlik et hashemen shenifsal betvul yom, from lighting the oil that became impurified in a person who needed to go to the mikveh. Tvul yom, what's a tvul yom? Let's understand the tvul yom. Tvul yom is a concept we did discuss it before, I don't remember. Hu tamesh et aval mitumato be'od yom. There are some impurification that you need to go to the mikveh, but you need to wait until sunset until you're really pure. So you don't have to do anything else. You went to the mikveh and then you wait to sunset, and then that's called the tvul yom. Ve'ad she'ariv alav hashemesh dino kesheni letumah. And until the sunset, he's still impure. We're going to consider him still impure, even though he went to the mikveh. Yeah. That's right. But he's not a real impure. He's secondary impure. That's right. He second to impurity, he can make food impure until the sun sets. So in other words, we tell him you cannot eat sacrifices now. That's exactly what we tell him. So now what happened? He's not allowed to touch shemen shel truma. Shemen is food, right? Even though they didn't use this shemen for food, they used this shemen for lighting, not the menorah, for lighting at home, lighting at home, whatever it is. So it says, but still, since shemen is pure, is food, when you touch it, it will become impure. So it says, don't worry about it. At Tvul Yom, with this you can let him touch. He makes it third to Tuma. Veshemen Truma, shenitma mutar ba'ana'ah. And here we have another rule. What happens if you're a Kohen and you have oil that you eat, that somebody donated? It's a Truma oil. But then somebody touched this oil and he made it impure. So it says now you cannot eat it. But you know what are you supposed to do with it? You're supposed to burn it. Remove it from the world. But there's a way to burn it and get a hana'ah from it. You can get enjoyment out of the burning, which means you can use this shemen for light. Yeah, so you can use it for light. Or for heating. Yeah, you're not allowed to use it now for food, but you're allowed to use it for warmth. So you're allowed to enjoy it. So this shemen we're talking about. Ve'lo nimne'u hakohanim melehamdliko bener shenitma betme met. And the Kohanim took this second impurity oil, and they weren't worried if when we say a candle, it doesn't mean a candle. It means a container. That's right. It means like a container that you used to put the oil. Metal container or clay container, whatever container they used to use. And that container became, like for example, a dead rat was found inside. Yeah? So that's avatuma, we said already. And that makes it a real, like a severe impurity. And the oil that you put inside of it is not a severe impurity. It's a second to impurity. So you're actually making it, again, you're taking severe impurity and you're making the oil also severe impurity now. So it says you're not allowed to do that. It says don't worry that since we're going to burn the whole thing, we light it. That's what Rabbi Akiva said. Okay. בגמרא מבואר, in the Gemara it explains, שמדובר כאן בנר של מתכת. We're talking about a candle made out of metal. כלומר בנורת מתכת. We're talking about a candle that is made, it's like a container made out of metal for oil. וההלכה היא, and the law is, שכלי מתכת שנגע במת נעשה אבי אבות הטומאה כמת עצמו. And it becomes just like the sherets. Just like the sherets is impure. Now the vessel, because it's made out of metal, if it would have made out of any other material, it wouldn't have. But metal, it becomes as severe as the sheretz. That's right. Not אבי אבות הטומאה, אב הטומאה. נעשה אבי אבות הטומאה כמת עצמו. That's if the dead person touches it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, but like the dead person. Yeah, I was talking about the sheretz, which is only avatuma. But it becomes like whatever touched them. Yeah. וכשנגע בטמא מת, נעשה אבטומאה קומתו. And when it touch in somebody that was impurified by a dead person, it becomes like the person. In other words, that doesn't become second. It still remains first. שנאמר, because it says, וכל אשר ייגע על פני השדה בחלל חרב, it says anything that is going to be touched on the field in a dead person that was killed by the sword, ודרשו חרב הרי הוא כחלל, and from here they learned the sword is as defiled as the dead person that it killed. Yeah. נמצא הנר הזה שנטמא בטמא מת, we find that this candle that was impurified in טמא מת הוא אב הטומאה. It is first the טומאה, ועושה את השמן שדליקו בו ראשון לטומאה, and it makes the oil that you light in it first the טומאה. And even though it makes it first the tumah, until now it was only a vlad, an offspring, which is not severe, he says, we will let you do it. Rabbi Akiva says, why? Because anyway you're going to burn it. So what's the difference? ולא חששו לכך, אף על פי שמוסיפים טומאה על טומאתו, even though you add טומאה on his טומאה, שבתחילה לא היה השמן אלא שלישי לטומאה, because in the beginning this oil was only third to טומאה, ועכשיו נעשה ראשון לטומאה, and you'll elevate it all the way from third to first. According to the first opinion, you can only elevate from third to second, but you're not allowed to go all the way third to first. Rabbi Akiva says you're allowed to even go from third to first as long as you're going to burn it. Okay? והוסיף רבי עקיבא על דברי רבי חנינא, and this is what Rabbi Akiva added on the words of Rabbi Hanina, שהרי רבי חנינא העיד על בשר קודש שהיה בתחילה שלישי ועשהו שני לטומאה. Rabbi Hanina went from third to second. He says you're allowed to go from third to impurity to second to impurity, a more severe impurity. ואילו רבי עקיבא העיד על השמן שהיה בתחילה שלישי. And Rabbi Akiva says, I know that he used to go from third even to first. ועשהו ראשון לטומאה. ואף על פי כן לא נהנו מזה. שהואיל ושם טומאה עליו. It says, once it's impure, אין חוששיף להוסיף בידיים טומאתו על טומאתו. Since it's anyway impure, we're not worried if the impurity is more or the impurity is less, since it's going to get burnt anyway.
So it's not like Rabbi Akiva agreed with it. There was no machloket. They all agree.
Rabbi Akiva is more stringent. The first Tana will not allow you to do what Rabbi Akiva says.
Oh, okay. But Rabbi Akiva,
yeah, he's going
what he says,
even more. Even more, that's right. Even more. That's what Rabbi Akiva says, I can do even a greater trick than you do.